ANC Secretary-General Ace Magashule says the party has not yet discussed former President Jacob Zuma's defiance of a constitutional court order compelling him to appear at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. Speaking yesterday, Magashule said Zuma had done nothing wrong and is within his rights. For more on the story, we're joined by Advocate Paul Hoffman from Accountability Now, an organization devoted to ensuring the rule of law is upheld and enforced. A very good morning to you, and thanks for making the time this morning, Advocate Hoffman.
Good morning to you, and good morning to your viewers as well. Thank you for the opportunity.
What does the law say when someone is defiant to a court order judgment?
The position that Jacob Zuma finds himself in at the moment is that he can either be punished for his contempt of the order of the Constitutional Court in the proceedings that were launched by the State Capture Commission against him at the end of last year, and in which judgment was given last Thursday, or he can be summoned for not obeying the invitation to attend on the 15th and following days of February.
ANC Secretary-General Ace Magashule says Zuma is well within his rights not to appear at the commission. Is our constitution under threat, as the letter purports?
No, I don't think that the constitution is under threat. What is under threat is the inability of Jacob Zuma and those who travel with him to understand that when the Constitutional Court says you will appear, it means you will appear, and that there are consequences if there is a failure to appear, which is what Jacob Zuma has been doing. The law is that he has to show sufficient cause if he does not appear on the 15th. The only way that he can do that is either to produce a credible sick note, and there have been unconfirmed reports that he intends to go to Russia for treatment, or he obtains an interim interdict in the High Court restraining the commission from interrogating him until his recusal proceedings, his review of the recusal proceedings that he lost last November is heard. He hasn't yet brought the interim interdict. I suspect that he will at the last possible moment, but the reason for him not seeking the interim interdict restraining Judge Zondo from interrogating him is that he has probably been advised that he will have trouble persuading any court, whether the High Court, the Supreme Court of Appeal, or the Constitutional Court, that he is actually entitled to an interim interdict. So he's in the same position that P.W. Botha was in relation to his failure to give evidence before the TRC, except that he's in a worse position because there is the order of the Constitutional Court against him, something which is not applicable in P.W. Botha's case. I think that Mr. Zuma needs to consider very carefully whether he prefers to sit in a comfortable commission or whether he prefers to sit in jail, because the latter is what will happen if he does not respond. It's also high time for the National Prosecuting Authority to issue proceedings against him in respect of the decapitation of the National Prosecuting Authority when he illegally fired a National Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. Nklasana, and of course in relation to his wrongdoing at Nkandla. If they bring a simple, short case such as that for the illegal transaction, the illegal deal in terms of which Nklasana resigned, they will be able to introduce Mr. Zuma to the reality of the law, the reality that criminality with impunity is not allowed in South Africa.
The point you make about the possibility of him going to jail even as he completes his letter of defiance, he dares the authorities to jail him. What possibilities are there of this happening? And if it were to happen, how would the law enforcement officials go about it?
Yes, it depends on whether he is held in contempt for the failure to comply with the order of the Constitutional Court, which is a very serious matter, or whether he is charged under the Commissions Act, where it is possible that he will be given a fine and a suspended sentence, suspended on condition that he does not ignore the next summons to appear before the Commission. So once again, the NPA has to make an election as to whether criminal proceedings for contempt of the Constitutional Court will be the route that it takes, or whether it will simply rely on an infringement of the Commissions Act. Accountability now's advice to the National Prosecuting Authority is that Mr. Zuma should be brought to trial as soon as possible for the illegal transaction that saw the end of Mr. Nklasana as our National Director of Public Prosecutions, because that is a matter which carries a 15-year sentence, and the service of summons in that matter may give Mr. Zuma cause for pause and the opportunity of reconsidering his attitude towards the law. He thinks that he is above the law. He is not actually above the law.
Just finally, he starts off his letter by talking about the kind of support he has received from many people. And assuming that this is true, where does public sentiment and the letter of the law meet in terms of a situation such as this one?
The provisions of Section 9 of the Constitution are to the effect that everybody is equal before the law. So the fact that somebody who enjoys political popularity is in a position in which he has committed a crime does not make any difference in the courts. The courts are enjoined by the Constitution to act independently and impartially. The judges act without fear of the popular people, without favor towards those with whom they are friendly, and without prejudice to the public interest. So if we assume, as I think we are entitled to do, that our courts are functioning in accordance with the mandate that they are given by the Constitution, then they will try Mr. Zuma on whatever charges are brought against him. And he's already facing charges in Pietermaritzburg relating to his relationship with Schabir Shaik, which ought, in the normal course, to mean that he would be suspended as an ANC member. But of course, the ANC has done nothing about that. But if he is brought to court on criminal charges, the expectation is that no matter how many people support him, the court will deal with him even-handedly, with integrity, impartiality, and independence.
Let's thank you for talking to us this morning. Of course, there's many elements to unpack on this conversation, and this will continue in the coming days. But for now, Advocate Paul Hoffman, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you for the opportunity.